I think a lot of people are exhausted. And it's not because life is hard, but because they've been living outside their own rhythm for too long. And I don't think we notice it right away. At first, it just feels like being busy, being responsible or productive, and trying to keep up. But after a while, you start waking up tired even after resting. You stop hearing yourself clearly. You start consuming more than you create, reacting more than reflecting, and rushing more than noticing. And I think that's been one of the biggest shifts in my life lately. Learning how to return to my own rhythm instead of forcing myself to move at a pace that never really belonged to me. That's part of why I've been spending more time out here in the garden. Things just move slower. But somehow, everything still gets done. Nothing in nature is panicking. The aloe isn't competing with the peppers. The peppers aren't trying to bloom before they're ready. The vines aren't waking up angry because another plant grew faster. Everything just has a rhythm, a season, and a timing. And I think people do too. But somewhere along the way, a lot of us start treating ourselves like machines instead of living beings. Like if we weren't constantly producing something, we're falling behind. I used to think slowing down meant I was losing momentum. Now I think slowing down is the only reason I can hear myself again. And I'm realizing there's a difference between a full life and an overcrowded one. A lot of people have overcrowded minds, overcrowded schedules, overcrowded homes, and overcrowded nervous systems, and then wonder why peace feels so far away. Sometimes peace isn't missing. There's just too much noise sitting on top of it. I've really been learning to pay attention to how things feel. Not just, is this productive, but does this way of living actually feel good in my spirit? Because honestly, I don't want a life that looks beautiful online but feels draining in private. I want a life I can actually hear myself in. That's important to me now. And I think that's why slower living has become less of an aesthetic for me and more of a necessity. Not lazy living, not disconnected living, intentional living. Like cooking more slowly, walking more slowly, thinking before reacting, creating from a calmer place, and letting mornings feel like mornings instead of emergencies. Even this, like walking through the garden with no rush, that feel healing to me. There was a time when I probably would have thought this kind of life looked too small. But now, I think there's something deeply rich about being able to enjoy your own life while you're living it. Not someday, not after you burn out, not after proving yourself, not after you finally earn the rest. No, not then, but now. And I know some people hear slower living and then assume It means giving up on your ambitions. But honestly, I think I'm becoming more aligned with my real ambitions for the first time. Because I never truly wanted a loud life. I wanted a meaningful life. I wanted freedom. I wanted space to think, space to create, space to breathe, space to notice things. I wanted mornings that felt human. I wanted work that didn't disconnect me from myself. I wanted to build things that came from my real life, not things that forced me to abandon it. And I think more people are craving that more than we realize. You can feel it. People are tired of performing, tired of pretending to love lives that secretly exhaust them. Chasing faster and faster versions of success while feeling further away from themselves. And I don't think the answer is disappearing from your life. I think it's returning to it. Like returning to your rhythm, returning to presence, returning to what actually matters to you. That's something I'm still learning to do every day. Not perfectly. There are still moments where I rush myself. Moments where I overthink. Moments where I feel pressure to do more, be more, produce more. But I'm getting better at catching myself. I'm getting better at asking, who told me life had to feel this hard all the time? Sometimes I think healing looks less like becoming someone new and more like remembering who you were before the world convinced you to abandon your own pace. And honestly, I think that's why I've been writing so much lately. Like, writing helps me hear myself. The reflections, the blog posts, the little daily seeds, they're all piece of the same conversation. Like little reminders, little returns, little attempts to stay connected to myself in a world that's constantly trying to pull people outside of themselves. And maybe that's why I wanted to share this today. Not because I have life figured out, but because I know I'm probably not the only person trying to return to rhythm again. So if you've been feeling overwhelmed, disconnected, restless, constantly behind, maybe you don't need to become a completely different person. Maybe you just need to come back to yourself a little more often. And maybe that return starts quietly. A slower morning, a walk outside, a meal made with intention, a moment without noise, a deep breath before reacting, a decision that actually honors your peace. Small things. But small things become rhythms. And rhythms becomes lives.